Hey Booktube, welcome back. I'm Winx, and the ink I'm talking about today is my December wrap-up. This month I actually read 8 books. One of them was a novella and 3 were audiobooks. The first book that I read was The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. I really like this book. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. It's a self-help book, but it was more written about presenting research than some sort of 10 steps to becoming a functional human being sort of thing. And there were a few sections that really resonated with me, particularly the one about being able to find self-worth now as opposed to after achieving some goal, and about how we use perfectionism to shield ourselves from the idea that we could possibly make mistakes instead of just embracing it, and how oftentimes the fear of not being perfect at something keeps us from doing things that we would like to do, such as this channel. So that book definitely spoke to me, and I plan on reading more of Brene Brown's books in the future. The second book I read was Wish You Were Here by Rita Brown, and I wasn't really a big fan of this one. I gave it 2 stars. I might have done 2.5 if that was a thing on Goodreads. The animals were interesting. They were like, the animals could talk to each other, but the humans couldn't actually hear them, and I really enjoyed those characters. I wish there was actually more of those in the books, and there were cute illustrations throughout the book. I don't actually have it with me since I'm still on vacation, but they had some cute drawings throughout that was kind of nice. On the other side of things, the humans I actually found kind of irritating. The main character is Harry, and all the things that she's doing are like completely illegal and outrageous, and no one, including the sheriff, seems to actually care. And it wasn't at all believable that the postmistress should be the one who tries to solve a murder mystery in a town that has a police department and what seems to be a pretty competent sheriff. So I just didn't really see how that made sense at all. And no one questions it in the book, which is also kind of baffling. And basically, I don't think that the human should be what keeps me from suspending my disbelief in a book that involves talking animals solving mysteries. There was also some problematic language in the book, which I'm sure is partly just that the characters are kind of from the rural South, as well as the time that the book was written in, but that also doesn't mean that we can't address it as being problematic. Sizism, racism, sexism all kind of reared their heads at one point or another in the dialogue or the exposition, so that was a little frustrating. But then I was also really curious about the actual mystery, and it actually wasn't the person I suspected. However, the main reason that I suspected the person that I did was because of this one part of the mystery, and they never explained that. Like, it doesn't make sense. The novella that I read was Penric's Demon, and I loved this. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. It's by Lois McMaster Bujold and takes place as part of her Chalian series. The story follows Penric, who is about to go be betrothed, and he thinks he's heading out for like what's going to be his future. And he's right, however, it's not going to be the future he envisioned, and he ends up possessed by a demon. So he ends up having to go on this journey instead to the Temple of the Bastard to figure out what he can actually do about it. And as he's going along this journey, you see the relationship between him and his demon develop. I loved Penric's character. I loved the demon's character. I thought their relationship was really charming and definitely hit me in the feels a few times. So I think that my only complaint about this novella is that it's a novella and not a book. It set up their story so well that I wanted it to keep going. I'm crossing my fingers that there's more to come. This one just actually came out this summer, so maybe. The next book that I read was The 3-Body Problem, and this book was way different than I was actually expecting. I heard about this book when I was reading Ernest Cline's Armada, which, if you've read it, also involves video games related to an alien invasion kind of thing. And so I was kind of somewhat subconsciously, I think, expecting this light-hearted sort of deal. And this book is not that. This book is very cerebral and kind of creepy. It had the sort of vibe that I get with a lot of magical realism books where I don't really know what's real, what's not, and dealt with a lot of physics issues and Chinese culture. And that was all really interesting, not to mention the whole actual impending alien invasion storyline. I am really interested to see how that goes. So all of that I loved it. However, oh, hey kitty. Hey kitty. Oh. The things I didn't like in this book were actually kind of minor things, but they bothered me enough that I couldn't actually decide if I liked the book basically the whole way through. The way that it ended made me rate it 4 stars, but I have to point out these two things, is that the main character, Wang, has a wife and a kid, and we meet them in the very beginning, and then we never see them again. Where they go, I don't know, but we don't see them. So I don't know if that's something that I just missed, but I just, they seem to disappear. The other thing that didn't make sense to me, and maybe this makes sense to somebody else, and I would love to hear in the comments if someone totally gets this, but the gameplay itself really confused me, because the way that it's written, it seems like it's multiplayer, like it's an MMO, but you can fast forward time. So the time fast forwards like when it makes sense for Wang, but it wouldn't make sense for anyone else. But it's an MMO. And that doesn't make sense to me. So I mean, obviously that's not the point of the book, but that threw me off so much that through most of the book, I was just trying to figure out like the game style. I've heard mixed reviews about the second book. I've heard from some people that it's kind of like the first one where you just have to power through to the end and then it's even better than the first. And then some people say that it's so bad that they can't actually get through it. And it might be the translation from the way it sounds, but I don't really know. So I think I'm going to try it at one point. My coworker actually has it and has offered to lend it to me. So I think I'd like to give it a try at least, but we will see. I also read The Shadow of the Torturer, which is the first book in Gene Wolfe's The Book of the New Sun series, and I love this book. It took me a little bit at first to get into it, just because of the writing style, and it's one of those where I kind of wish, I'm happy to have a physical copy of it, but I also kind of wish that I had a Kindle copy because I was constantly looking up words in the dictionary, and if I could just, that would have been way easier and saved me a lot of time. But the writing is really great. It's just beautiful, powerful prose. It's written in a memoir kind of style where the main character is retelling his voyage, and you get these little snippets of his current situation, but not enough that you actually really know what's happening. So I'm enjoying that, where there's this sort of mystery of figuring out like where we're headed on the story and what situation he's in now that is causing him to want to go back and write this out. I feel like we don't know Severian, the main character, super well at this point, but it doesn't feel like that's for lack of character depth. I feel like we know him as well as he knew himself at this point. Like, he's just been exiled from this guild. Like, he knows the way of life that was his own, and now he's just thrown into the chaos that was caused by his own actions and decisions, and now we get to kind of grow with him as a character and see where his journey leads, and I'm really excited to go into the next book. The series itself, it's a little dark. I mean, he's from a torturer's guild, so there's like a little bit of that in there. I also love that it's both a fantasy and a sci-fi book. You read it and it reads so much like a fantasy novel, but then you get these little snippets of information where it suddenly hits you that, oh, this is actually sci-fi, and that just, it's a cool combination. It's such a complex world, and I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to get to the next one. And then last to my wrap-up is the His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman. I got all 3 audiobooks from Audible and listened through them throughout the month. I just finished the 3rd one last night, and that was the only one in the trilogy that I hadn't already read before, but it's been 15 years or so since I even read the first 2, so I was looking at it for the first time with adult eyes, and that was kind of a new adventure as well. I love these books. I love the characters. I love the demons. I kind of want to name one of my future cats after either Yorick or Pan. I can't decide, but one of them. Maybe both of them, we'll see. The world, or worlds, are so cool. All the different races, so fun. The last book hit me in the feels over and over and over, and I want to talk about all of it, but I feel like it's spoilery, so on the off chance that someone was like me and hadn't actually read all of them, I'm not going to go into it because this video is long enough as it is and I will ramble on forever, but so many feels. I love it and gave them all 5 stars. Love it. The audiobooks I also highly recommend. Full cast, very fun. Definitely a good use of 3 Audible credits. That sums up my December wrap up. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear comments if any of you read these books or have clarifications, especially on the 3-body problem, because that game style, I don't know what's up with it, but I want to figure it out. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. I hope everyone is having a great new year, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!